So everybody's been concerned about the war in Iran, and the debate has been mainly raging between the isolationists and the interventionists on the right. But I'm here to tell you, I think they are both wrong, and that's because prudence should always govern our foreign policy. So the question becomes, is it prudent and in America's interest to get involved in this war? Well, here's some relevant factors that for some Americans will be sufficient evidence to go to war, and some won't. Reason number one is that Iran was rebuilding its nuclear programs after the Midnight Hammer strikes last year. Now, they had thousands of pounds of uranium enriched at about 20% and nearly 1,000 pounds of uranium enriched at 60%. And while they were rebuilding their nuclear program capabilities, they were also bolstering their missile defense systems. They already had 3,000 missiles, and there was intelligence reports to suggest that by the year 2027, they would have 8,000 missiles. This would make them extremely difficult to attack, similar to North Korea. Once they got a nuclear weapon, no one is willing to stand up to them. Reason number two is that Iran is the world's largest sponsor of terrorism, and that includes funding groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. The Houthis, for example, interfere with international trade nearly every single day because ships are going through the Strait of Hormuz, and this negatively impacts the American economy. Not only this, but way more importantly, countless Americans have been killed by these terrorist groups and by Iran directly. For example, the Beirut bombings. And of course, more recently, there's been instructions to infiltrate the American homeland and commit acts of terrorism, like when Iran instructed Farhad Shakiri, who's now been charged by the DOJ, to kill President Trump. Reason number three is that a weaker Iran means a weaker China, which is America's chief geopolitical adversary. Now, about 10 to 15% of all of China's oil comes from Iran, and it's usually sold to them at a cheaper price than the global prices. Of course, also, Iran has massive business investments in China, their military allies, and so much more. In other words, it weakens China's position in the global stage while strengthening the U.S. position.